Everyone, this is Mike Bowers. I'm with the Ohio Small Business Development Center at Columbus State Community College. We want to welcome you to this edition of Small Business Breakthroughs. This is a program that we've been doing for a few years now, and it's all focused around assisting small business owners, helping small business owners understand some of the things that can help them build and grow their business. And it's based on information from experts and entrepreneurs who have been there and are currently either in the business or working with small businesses or both. So we are excited for today's session. We have Christian Brown. He is the owner of Three-12 Solutions, and we look forward to a really exciting show today. And we want to get started with our partner. We want to welcome Grady Foltz with the Dublin Entrepreneurial Center. And Grady, would you like to share a little bit about what's going on at the deck?
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Awesome. So yeah, I'm the manager here at the Dublin Entrepreneurial Center. And the way we basically help out small businesses is through office space. We're home to about 150 plus startups and small businesses that rent offices in a variety of sizes and different types of offices. We have, for starters, just a hot spot for maybe companies that only have one employee. It comes with a small cubicle in a mailbox, and it goes all the way up to large corner offices. And we try to foster collaboration amongst these different small businesses in different ways. We have community conference rooms that are open to all the companies that reside here at the deck, and they can book them together apart with clients without, and we have a independent booking system, so there are no conflicts with different companies. We have events that we hold in the deck cafe, in the large networking room downstairs, where all these companies can come together and share ideas and foster growth. So our mission here is to have companies come in their infancy. Most of our companies are between 2 and 10 employees, so they're relatively small. And as they grow, we hope that one day, honestly, that they leave the deck and become a company that's big enough to rent their own office somewhere else. So we're a revolving door basically of companies coming in with having new ideas, getting an office, having a home base to grow their business, and then hopefully one day they grow to the point where they can graduate and become no longer a small business. So yeah, that's basically how we assist small business growth here in Dublin, Ohio.
Great. Hey, Grady, before you go, I got a question.
Yeah.
Now, the other day, I was walking around the hall and walked past the corner office back around there, and everybody was in there. Everything was fine. Came back in here to work, walked in there, and they were all gone.
Yes.
They moved down the hall. So is that office available now?
That office is not, we have a tenant coming up from the first floor. The whole first floor had to move this past month up to the third floor. I think Dark Points is trying to get one large company downstairs and keep all the entrepreneurship stuff up here and kind of have that segregated. So we have a tenant coming in there in the next couple days, but that company actually, I believe it was ASCIS, I think the chemical company, but they needed 2 offices. They needed to get more space. So we took down a wall, moved them into, I think they have now 3 total offices that they can connect and not have a wall dividing them. So it should fit their needs. Hopefully they're getting set up in there, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice. There's a lot of flexibility from there, but I guess I was going to say if that was open, that's probably the nicest office in the building. So
Oh yeah, there's 4 of them in the 4 corners. Those are the biggest ones, and everybody wants them.
absolutely, absolutely. Okay, well, great. If anybody has any questions, anybody has an interest, you can go to deckanddublin.com, or you can email Grady directly. I think it's grady.foltz@dartpoints.com.
Yep.
So just email him directly, and if you want to come in, and he'll show you around and let you know what's going on. Now, I am going to jump in here with our guest, but Christian, I'm going to start out by changing the questions already. So you are a deck tenant. You're actually here at the deck right now. And just real quick, kind of dovetail on what Grady's talking about. What's been your experience, real quick, about being here at the deck and some of the value?
Well, thank you, Michael, and I'm so excited to be a part of this podcast. What is so special about the deck is that you really do have an opportunity to get more resources than you may have or believe you have at your reach. And as a startup business, I obtained I took advantage of the resources. I really did. Whether it was finding an accountant or finding a CPA or a different partner to do something that I couldn't do. That's the benefit of this environment. Everyone is in entrepreneurship, and it is a encouraging environment when you are a single shingle, if you will.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So you actually are in an environment where other entrepreneurs are doing what they do, and it gives you a little energy. So I love being here. I was supposed to come in and incubate, and I believe it was 2016. Yes. And so we came in and we were an anchor, but we get so much support here, and I would encourage anybody to look into being in this particular environment. As Grady mentioned, there's more than 100 businesses here. Many of us are tied into the Dublin City Chamber, and that's really key to meeting folks and so forth. So I really like the environment. It's very professional. I have always found good help here, and it's given us an opportunity to get traction and grow.
Great. All right. So yeah, I would encourage anyone who has an interest to reach out to Grady. And like I said, it's a great space, whether you're just moving out of your house and wanted some place that you can maybe have a hot spot you can kind of sit down at, and you maybe need conference rooms and different things like that. There's a lot of times I'm here on the weekend, and there's a lot of businesses in here using the conference rooms and different things of that nature for training and stuff like that. And it's hard for you to do during the week. So great space, and I would encourage you to absolutely check it out. So Christian, we're going to jump in here, and I'm actually going to stick to some of the questions, even though I've already changed the first one. So why don't you give us a little bit of your background, kind of introduce yourself a little bit, and then we'll kind of jump into your small business journey.
Awesome. Again, so appreciative of everybody here today. My name is Christian Brown. I'm president of 312 Solutions. Our mission is to help our customers solve problems with innovative information technology solutions. I had a connection to computers at a very, very young age, playing video games. My father was a college professor, and during that time, video games, sports, those are things that are very interesting to young kids. And at 11 years old, Dad said, "Hey, let's get you in a course, a computer course." And that's a long time ago, 1978, actually. Star Wars was big. I think we just had Saturday Night Fever. But what was really great was the opportunity to learn how to code at a very young age. Many of us discover that there's nothing new under the sun. Maybe there's this AI coming out, but the thing about interesting thing about life is there really is nothing new, but maybe there's some new nuances to it, and we have an opportunity to really help folks, and I think that's what's driving me in business is that, you have to understand who you are as a person, and just intrinsically the joy that I get from maybe helping somebody solve a problem is really enjoyable. And that's really why I'm out doing what I'm doing. I'm just leveraging my skills, and I've had the opportunity to be in some best in class organizations. Uh, JP Morgan Chase, I was a part of that major merger, moving the commercial bank one systems up to the state of Delaware for Chase Bank, and the bank1.com, or the chase.com, what became chase.com. I've probably impacted you all in many different ways. We've set up key systems for Verizon Wireless. We have mapped every connection to the John Glenn and Rickenbacker Air Force Base, former Air Force Base. And we've also been responsible for the B2B gateway connections at American Electric Power. So it's your electricity, your banking, your phone, and your travel. We've probably impacted you. And the last thing would be we've been a strategic partner with the Department of Higher Education. So we've had the opportunity to help design the college student transfer system. So we're way in the background on a lot of these systems, but we're a very innovative company, and I'm really even pleased to announce that we have obtained a new contract with the state of Ohio to redesign and reimagine employer payroll reporting, not just in one agency, but across Ohio Tax, or the Job and Family Services, as well as the BWC. So we're able to be a major contributor. We're still a small company, but a major contributor. And one thing I learned in life is that when you give, things come back to you. And so that's why it's important to be in an environment where, and be willing to share what you learn. It might be a network, it may be a contact, it may be somebody who doesn't even do what you do. And that's been very key. So the first thing you got to do is, everybody steps out on faith, right? When they start their business, they're believing they can do it. They've got a vision. Somewhere they believe they can do it. And the next step is that they're going to have to get some wisdom. So this is a great place for that. And I'd be happy to share more about that. Some things that I've learned to help us be successful. We've been in business more than 10 years. Strategic partners include Dart Points, which is a key part of the deck here. They were very much a key role in helping us map the computer networks and internet mappings, everything over there at the airports. So it's really great to be out here pushing our rock, trying to do what we're designed to do. And you always got to get wisdom, and that's the key. So I think these are great sessions.
Yeah, well, thank you. So, when you talked about when you went to college, you went into computer stuff. So when I went to college, I started in 1982, and I started as a computer science major. Never took a computer class before I changed my major to economics and finance. But my parents were trying to be wise and get me on the computer path. But yeah, it just wasn't for me. And then a couple of years later, I took my first computer class. And that was back when it was a coding class. So you only had the options of coding, right? So you got to go to a room, you had a unit. The big computer was behind a glass window. And I think I took COBOL, and I counted the seconds until I got out of it. So I'm glad that there's people like you to make stuff work, because that's definitely not me.
Well, a lot has changed here, in our world today. There's when you do innovation, there is a disruption that occurs, and I enjoy meeting a lot of people in the business that I'm in. One thing that gets attention is when I say I studied COBOL for the 80s.
Yeah.
That's that's always a conversation starter. But something new is always going to come up, and we're going to find out. I think what, as I've learned, it is how we interact, and how we problem solve, and how we lead people through those processes. Really, is where innovation comes from.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so that's why this is going to apply to many different businesses. This topic
Yeah.
that we're about to discuss.
So let's kind of jump in here a little bit, and I want to talk, a little bit more about kind of your entrepreneurial thoughts. Talked about, you started, what you say, 10 years ago,
Mhm.
kind of the one person, and now you've grown, you've got staff, you've got contractors, you got all this stuff, and you're literally, I don't know if everybody really grasps what you guys are going to be working on with the state of Ohio to be able to integrate all of this stuff across multiple agencies, which
Yes.
is huge. And that's not something that I think people that aren't involved don't realize, that, you have a lot of silos that do great work, but they don't necessarily, especially for the end user, you got to go here and then you got to go here. So
Mhm.
the things that you guys are working on really is, what's allowing the gears to work.
Yes, you're absolutely right. When a business is started in the state of Ohio, organizations like Small Business Development Center are very, very helpful. Um, Usually, what happens is, a business owner understands what they do well and what their goals are, but how do you get out there and actually get started? What's the first thing I need to do? What are the things I need to um, not do that's going to take me away from my goals ultimately? Those are really key. So, you got to get down and you get your articles of incorporation, and you go through all these steps. What 312 is going to actually be doing, with the Department of Administrative Services, which is the overarching organization, is that we're going to bring together all of the agencies that work with small businesses, or any business actually truly in the state of Ohio, and give them a user experience so they know, they come into the state of Ohio and they know exactly what steps they need to take to actually do business in Ohio. That might be setting up, for reporting taxes. It might be setting up for reporting employer um, information for the Job and Family Services, as well as your Bureau of Workers' Compensation. And what we're going to do is we're going to take all these agencies through an innovation process so that they can learn how to identify quick wins and intermediate projects, where they can bring that experience into one main portal so that they can better serve organizations like ours.
Yeah.
And that's what we're leading that innovation.
Yeah, and that's a big deal. And if you need any assistance, any input on the issues that small businesses deal with and all this process, you need to contact Bruce because he works with folks from, I have an idea, all the way through that process. And he does a lot of our intro stuff. So he would be, anybody that's interested in small business or starting a small business, he's the guy. And I tell you, he's got some great success stories, and he's got some stories that we probably can't tell here.
Well, I'm excited. Yes, Bruce, I'll look forward to connecting with you.
So let's tell me about, so what was it that you did that kind of get you from it's just you're sitting here at the deck, to being able to kind of move through the process of growing your business, getting business, working with some of these agencies and different things, these private companies, that has allowed you to grow your business?
Um, I love this question. I think the first thing, for anyone who is desiring to start their business, is to truly understand, what they're good at, uh, and if there's a market for it. So I had to do a little research. Our organization, 312, was incorporated really in 2013, while I was a contractor working at Verizon Wireless. And I worked that contract for 18 months for another larger firm until the point where I had gained the trust of Verizon Wireless, and uh, it was really my belief that I had to finish that work. So once I finished that work, I truly left without a contract, which somebody might say that, why, well, that's quite a risk. Well, what I did manage to do was to gain the trust of a global organization. And, you know, people don't leave organizations, they tend to leave people. You know, that's kind of how that works. And when I started 312, I was a expert project manager in information technology. I was at the center of architecting a lot of innovation and working to deliver those systems. So I knew very well what had to happen to deliver the technology. My biggest challenge was I had a view of, as a consultant, everybody has a perspective on something. So our original name was 312 Staffing and Consulting. So that's it. There's a staffing component. Most consultants go to work in my field and as they're staffed and staff-logged in. But what I was really good at was solutioning. So when we started the company, I found there were a lot of barriers because maybe I was too small, or maybe I didn't know the right people or know the right processes to actually get business.
Right.
So some things you really want to be clear on. Yes, you need a business plan. Yes, you need to do some demographic study about what you're about to embark on. You know, you want to search it out a little bit. But the main thing is you want to be able to be very good at what you're doing, be very good at obtaining opportunities, because that is going to be your lifeline. Whether you're big or small, is can you get the next one? And so those are things that you'll want to be just mindful of. I am a person of faith. You know, so when you start a business, it's what for me, it was what I believed I could accomplish. So it wasn't the fact that I didn't have a contract. It was that I had a ton of great experience and expertise, and I believed I could get the next thing. So I put everything together, took my first step. The next thing was I needed to get some wisdom. How could I do it? I didn't have a lot of resource, didn't have a lot of money. So what I did was I subcontracted in all of my staff. Those are 1099s. They were not employees of mine.
Right.
My very first contract was with the Ohio State Medical Wexner Center, and we brought 32 project managers out to the Dublin Entrepreneurial Center to bring them through training to create programs and IT solutions faster, and we called it agile. That was our first contract. That's major. You know, when you get Ohio State, you know, to be your first contact or first contract, why was the deck so helpful? Because I found an individual here that saw something in me and said, "Hey, you need an engagement process." I didn't even know what that was. Engagement process. So all I didn't know anything about coaching, leadership. I just knew about scoring touchdowns or hitting singles, right? And but what I learned was how to do meetings, how to do follow-ups, and put all that information into a statement of work and to set up a contract. Next thing I knew, that the Ohio State Medical Wexner Center said, "Hey, I like working with you. You're easy because you have an engagement process that works extremely well." I didn't know that. In fact, today we write contracts and statements of work that don't even require the state of Ohio to actually give us a signature. Actually, it's a purchase order that authorizes the contract. I didn't know that. I didn't know that you could do that. simple process. So we learn, everything is a learning experience, but
let's kind of continue down that path, because so you had the individual here that kind of helped you move forward, but I know that as you've gone along too, you've built that advisory network, or if we want to call it an advisory board or whatever, to help you learn new things, share experiences and things of that nature. So tell us about that, because I think that is important for businesses to understand.
yes, an advisory board is great. And an advisory board is, those are trusted individuals who have been somewhere where you want to go and have an insight that could be very helpful for you. My advisory board has 6 members on it, and they are, some of them, and this is really great, it ranges from CEOs, CIOs, to people who have done startups, people who have owned businesses. I have an advisor who has been on the 5,000 Inc. Uh, list 8 times. Um, my wife is on the advisory board. She's
See, that's
actually
part right there.
she is a partner in our company. So, and then I have uh, a couple individuals who are not in IT at all, but they are business. The advisory board um, is very diverse, women, minority, um, and some senior, um, but that is where the wisdom comes from. So it is the advisory board actually that opens doors for our company.
Yeah.
And
So when you first started it, so you had the first gentleman, which I think was Ryan, and then how did you go about it from there? Because I think sometimes people get into this mode of, okay, well, I went online and I watched video, or I've gone to this meeting, they talk about advisory boards, and I think I've got to put together, an advisory board immediately that has 6, 10 people on it or something like that. And I think my experience is you're better off to kind of gradually build it um, with people that truly have an interest in you and your business. Because I've been on advisory boards because with the SBDC, so they've been clients of mine, but I've been on their board, and they've got other people on there that have big names, and they were very smart people, but they really didn't have a great grasp of what the person was doing, and I don't know the value that they were really bringing.
yes, you're absolutely right, Michael. It is, you really only need to go to war with it. You need a few people to go to war with. That's for the majority of my business time with 312, we've had a very small board. We probably won't get that much larger with the members we have. The way you want to go about determining who should be on your advisory board is the very first thing is like-mindedness. I think that's really key. Um, whatever principles and values that your foundational thinking needs to be, that those are individuals that you trust, number one, and are going to be able to give you the advice that you can receive, and people that really care about you. So what I would recommend is the first thing you do is search out your Rolodex, look in to see who do you know. It is not about titles necessarily, as Michael said. It is not the person that's way up here. It's a person that has some insight, wisdom, and look through your Rolodex, find out who do you trust and who do you respect. And when you inquire, go see them in person.
Yeah.
I'm a little old school about that. Go see them in person. Let them know what you want to do, what you want to accomplish. You'll be surprised how much support you'll find. Um, the main thing is that you want to be able to share information, and you be wise with what you share with inside of your advisory board, because this is not a formal board. Um, if you trust somebody, it's very difficult to have them sign a non-compete agreement. That's not necessary. What you want to be able to do is to create an environment where maybe start out small, maybe 2 or 3 trusted advisors, people that you can bounce that have some very good business experience. You don't have to pay them necessarily, but I believe in doing something. I give gift cards, dinner cards. They go in and eat, enjoy time with their family. I do donations to charities. Some of the board members run charities, and we donate, and they share information. So that's the key thing. When you have your advisory board meeting, make sure that you have a clear agenda, and you're going to discuss things that are important from where you are. People can see where you are. So it is not going to be, you're not trying to impress the advisory board. In fact, if you don't tell them what's wrong, they're not going to throw you a lifeline. How can they do that, right? So it's a very transparent meeting, good agenda, and things that you need to reach for. And there's safety in counsel, right? So you're not, as an entrepreneur, it is what I have discovered is, hey, I got this great idea. Oh, okay. I start working it, and I'll find out it might have been a good one, but maybe not the right decision for the business. So a lot of the key decisioning is bounced. It's bounced off the advisory board.
Yeah,
In fact,
how often do you meet in a kind of a structured meeting format?
actually, we're only going to meet 3 times a year.
Okay.
However,
Right.
what I do is my advisory board has given me I'll call it the grace. I can communicate with them often.
Right.
And so today, actually, it's month end, right? So I will be sending out, hey, we just obtained this contract, or hey, we're having an issue with this particular customer or client, or hey, this was what we discussed in the prior advisory board meeting, and here's where I am today. And they'll provide feedback. And remember, feedback is a gift. If somebody is giving you, they're letting you know. The tough thing about an advisory board meeting is sometimes for me is that, put our egos aside. Okay, so if we want to survive, there's a level of humility that has to happen there, and you'll be surprised how many people are for you, and they want to see you succeed.
Yeah, it's one of those where, again, they're giving you advice, giving you input, and the only way you're really going to be able to do much with that is to accept it and make a determination. But I think the other thing that's important to know when you're dealing with an advisory board, they're giving you great advice, they're giving you great input. You should, put aside your ego and really assess the information. But it's not a statutory board, like you said. So you don't have to do it. I mean, you would think, and you're getting great information, but again, because it's an advisory type role, you are the owner, you're the business owner. You don't have to do what they're saying or do the whole thing that they're saying. You need to implement that into what you're doing as a business. So, because I've seen it where some people, again, have gotten a little confused, and they're like, well, if they say I got to shift gears and go this direction or that direction, then I got to do it. Well, you don't have to do that.
Yeah, it is the goal and objective of an advisory board is to seek advice.
Yeah.
And one thing I learned in life is that, you can give advice, but it's a give or take thing. It's just advice.
Yeah.
But it is. I think it's been a very successful component of our business, and it's been a lifeline actually, in some respect.
Yeah, I think it's huge. I think the businesses that are willing to do that, I think they're going to get great value out of that. But again, you got to be respectful of their time. You got to be respectful of what you're providing to them. And, provide them the information, let them provide you the feedback, and then you kind of go from there. So the other thing I wanted to touch about, because you talked about the importance of obtaining opportunities, which, we all like that. So as you were starting into this, obviously you had some background, you were a contractor at, Verizon and things, but you also had to learn from what you told me to network,
Yes.
to be able to build relationships and get connections. Talk a little bit about that. And before we start, I just want to show anybody who's on the chat that does have questions, throw it in or on the session, throw it into the chat. And Bruce and I will keep an eye on it, make sure that your questions get answered. So talk about, your journey to learning to network to help build your business.
Yes, that's really great. As a information technology, let me just make it even more plain. As a computer programmer, I'm sitting in a cubicle, right?
Yeah.
What was fantastic about that was that I was drawn to computer programming because I was a creative person. And so if I could just sit there and be creative, part of me was very happy. However, but as a business owner, I've had the opportunity to go to graduate school as well. I'm an alum of the charter class of Franklin University's MBA program, and that is not necessarily sales school.
Right.
Okay, that is more. That was an opportunity to learn about operating a business and the various components of what's important. One of those key components is marketing and business development. And if you're going to do business development, you have to understand, of course, my business is very relational, meaning that it's not transactional. It's not like going to pick something up off the shelf. So trust is a very, very big part of that. And it's very difficult to go and win an RFP if you've not talked to anyone, or to get on a vendor list if you have not talked to anyone, or socialized who you are until you become those IBMs and Amazons of the world. And so one of the things that my advisor, which is a great segue here, Michael, had suggested was, hey, you need to maybe put something on your calendar once a week where you're going to socialize. Maybe it's a conference, maybe it's a meetup. I have really obtained opportunities because of those events. Those are events where you can go and learn about something new, but at the same time, there's going to be somebody in the room that you would not ordinarily have access to. And that is, the proof in getting contracts. This last contract that I mentioned with the state of Ohio is directly tied to going to one of these events and our prior history, of course, with the state. So what I would encourage, get something on the calendar, go out there on LinkedIn, look at the events, search out Eventbrite and areas where you may be needing to do business. It has nothing to do with IT. It's in your realm of business. Find out what's going on in your local community first, and get out there. And when you go to these events, you're looking to just introduce yourself, and then maybe you can obtain a coffee that way, or a lunch. You can describe what you do. But that's the power of networking. I would like to just add one other thing: is don't be afraid to open up your network to somebody you may have met. What I do from time to time, let me rephrase that. If there's somebody that I can trust, what I will do is I will sit down and say, hey, if there's anybody in my LinkedIn you see out there, let me know. Perhaps I'll give you a warm introduction. that gives me access to their network. Okay, so um, without, it was put to me, if you're going to be in business, why would you be afraid to go and do networking? And people are going to buy from you because of who you are. And so I had to learn to open up a little bit, and never been to an official sales school. But I found out that one of my giftings was relating to people. And so I lean on that.
One of the things when we talked about it, you made a comment that the relationships you make today may not be for today.
That's true. Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I think that's important.
That's very key. Um, we're all working on our personal brand, but when we do network, it's important to allow those relationships to build trust. Um, I was serving a nonprofit. I had the opportunity um, to do some guest speaking, and I was invited to another event. And I ended up meeting um, a brigadier general of the Ohio National Guard. And it's unbelievable how that kind of sort of naturally sort of happens. The next thing I know, I'm sitting in his office. Uh, but that maybe took 3 to 4 months. So you need to learn how to understand the difference between a prospect and opportunity. You know, first of all, a regular meeting, is there something there? You know, and that's kind of like more of a sales cycle and maybe a sales discussion. But you need to have your relationships give them time to develop. And but you'll be surprised that the networking is probably word of mouth is it's so powerful. In fact, the mapping of the entire network of the John Glenn International Airport, Rickenbacker, all that came as a recommendation from the Department of Higher Education. So that has nothing to do with each other. But it was the manager at the Department of Higher Ed. His wife was an executive administrator to the airport. We did great work for the Department of Higher Ed. How did that happen?
That's good. Hey, wanted to talk a little bit about your thoughts. So you've been in business, for 10 years. You guys are doing well. And in other episodes of this, where we've talked to people that either deal with existing businesses or have later stage businesses. So there's a session that Rick Slark did, and there's a session that Rick Copeland did, and they both do contract consulting with entrepreneurs, with later stage owners and things of that nature. And both of them referenced something that you referenced in a conversation we had. They talked about leadership.
Oh,
And
yes.
you talked about leadership training that you've done. A lot of people want to get into the tactical components of it. So the sales training, and which I'm not saying that's bad, but the sales training or the accounting training, all of which has to happen. And I think they'd leave the leadership piece behind. So what are your thoughts on this leadership training, or really implementing leadership as a small business owner that would help you deal with your employees, your stakeholders, growing your business, and even self-leadership?
Leadership is absolutely perhaps the most important skill I've had to develop over the more recent times as an entrepreneur. Why? Because leadership in one word is influence. Now, I believe good leadership means that you're using your powers for good. If you're an Avenger, use it for good. I just want to put that out there. But education is continual, whether it's formal, informal, or degreed or certification. But the main thing is that we continue to grow. We can only do so much as an individual, and we can be very, very good. But if we are going to be a company and we are going to scale, what we need to do is to create leaders, so that we can move as one organization. We can do what is right to meet the missions and objectives of our goals, and we can develop others. So part of my job is to not just go in and deliver a great IT solution. I am investing in the people that are delivering, not just trying to help them be good at technology, but developing the individual. And why is that key? Because when you can find out what is intrinsic with somebody, I learned this from doing volunteer nonprofit work. When you have to lead volunteers, and that is something that gives you great skill with people. When you can lead volunteers, you're searching for what's intrinsic in a person. There's a great quote in I think it's the movie Hidden Figures, where Kevin Costner says, "Find the genius in the room." Well, part of that is finding out what's important and intrinsic about your team members. When you find that and you couple that with leadership, now you're ready to grow. So leadership, every contract, every customer, we are leading them. We are leading our customers and clients in solving problems. We don't have the answer when we walk in the door. All right. But leadership, everything rises and falls.
Yeah, absolutely. So before I would be remiss if I didn't ask you some things, because you're here being a technology person. So as a small business owner, you know, and this changes, I guess, as they grow, what would you recommend people be thinking about as they are looking to or considering buying technology for their small business? What do they need to be thinking about? Because I think a lot of them can get into a situation where they overbuy and it's more than they need. I get, and this is not disparaging Salesforce, but Salesforce can be a very powerful tool, but it's also can be a monster for a small business owner. I mean,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on this?
This is really important because as a small business, we want to make sure that we're finding opportunities and we're keeping our costs low, because we need to keep an eye on that bottom line. If you can use an Excel spreadsheet, as opposed to a robust customer relationship management system, the goal is about getting a task done. And it isn't so much about, what tool are you using? In information technology, there is a tool for every class of business enterprise to medium-sized small business. And we have to use wisdom. Technology is changing so quickly that, you really want to try to focus on what you need as a small business. You're going to manage costs every year. And that is, watching your margins is really key. It doesn't matter what type of business you're in, bottom line, bottom line, bottom line. And if of course, if anyone ever would need a technology, some advice, we're certainly available for you, but keep an eye on, what class of business am I in at this point in time? Am I small business? Well, what is out there for small business, whether it be QuickBooks, whether it be Microsoft Solutions, Outlook, or whatever those solutions are. Right. Just know that there's a class for each size of a business, which is a great thing.
You mentioned before, so just mentioned QuickBooks. I remember when QuickBooks was primarily, you buy QuickBooks, you put on your computer, and it's right there, and you're doing all your stuff. Well, so much of that now has moved to the cloud. So much of everything has moved to the cloud. And now I would think that, especially in cloud-based stuff, you have a security concern that you've got to be very aware of.
Yes, that's absolutely true. So you have to do your diligence and do some comparative shopping. systems lack security because they were designed to be open. Microsoft is well known for that. They are open system architecture, which
Right.
means that other systems it's designed for other organizations to connect into it. So there's a security issue. So when you think of security, just use wisdom. Are you using something that is not used by many other businesses, or something, this, be careful about that and make sure that you're using a proven quality product, even if it is system of service or it is Amazon. Make sure it's something that has been proven. Check out the reviews. Talk to somebody around the deck here. Hey, what are you using? You'll find out we use, I'll share this, we don't use QuickBooks. We're using something else, right? Why? Because our bookkeeper, whom we found from a contact here at the deck, has been running business across the state of Ohio and is utilizing a very, very highly secured uh, system. It's system as a service, but highly recommended, vetted out, and we're saving money.
Yeah. Great. And that's the thing. I think QuickBooks has got the brand,
Mhm.
but there's a lot of stuff when you start looking, and we're not sponsored by QuickBooks, so we can say whatever we want.
Sure. We're trying to get the best for our audience here. Absolutely.
Right. That's right. But hey, kind of the last bigger question, artificial intelligence, small businesses, what do you think? How is AI currently impacting business? What do you think a small business is going to be looking at as it relates to AI into the future? I mean, I'm not talking all the way in the future to where machines have taken over and, we have to be battling them like on the Matrix. But, just what do you think on the AI side?
Well, our work at the Department of Higher Education has given us some real insight. We've actually implemented AI for the Department of Higher Education, and with the as AI is coming into our world in business, we have to be very wise. I'm also an advisor to the Ashland University's Executive AI program.
Okay.
One of the things there are two things we're kind of keeping an eye on right now is what is the degree of engagement of the new technology, right? So if you are looking at the Gartner curve of innovation, there's a hype curve at the top. First thing you're going to see is a hype. What's the hype? Can we get through the hype? And once we realize that, hey, there's some disappointment where we don't know exactly what this AI is all about as we're moving up this curve of capability, right? We want to understand, when do we jump from the hype curve to that actual capability? What's the actual capability that's delivering us a return on investment? Okay, that's what we're keeping an eye on. The other thing is responsibility. We have ethic responsibility to do what is moral with regard to anything we do in business, technology. And with AI, what we're looking for is not necessarily in replacing the human emotional intelligence that we provide. That is so difficult to mimic in technology, is what, our ability to discern and our ability to decision. So in AI, we were trying to create these models in machine language to emulate basically real people and decisioning and trying to program things a certain way. But that is a core part of our discussion. How do we help others to not take the human element out of um, our business? One of the most fantastic things about what I get to do is I get to talk to other people and work with other people. That was my last message as I ran the kickoff meeting for our State of Ohio project just this morning, is that it is the people on the journey that brings joy, that once you meet them and you get to work with them and you get to know them. I don't think technology can replace people.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So we're going to wrap up here. I've got one more question, but before I do that, I do want to again thank the Dublin Entrepreneurial Center for their support of the program. And if you do have questions on engaging with the deck, so that doesn't always mean full-blown office space. There's a lot of different options here. Reach out to Grady Foltz and the Dublin Entrepreneurial Center website, which is DEC in Dublin.com, and see how they might be able to assist you. Also, the Small Business Development Center, our center at Columbus State, feel free to connect with us. We are providing advising services, training services to entrepreneurs to help them build, grow, and start their businesses. And those are provided to you at no cost. So if you reach out to the SBDC, you can email us at sbdc@cscc.com or .edu. Sorry, I've only been working here for 20 years. And our website is sbdccolumbus.com. So feel free to reach out, take advantage of the services, advantages of the assistance that is available to you as you're growing your business. So, Christian, the last question is for anybody who's watching this. We've got some folks in the that are watching this live, but for them and for anybody who might watch this on our YouTube channel, what would you say kind of one last thing for a small business owner to help them be more successful? Again, whatever that means, what would you tell them that they should be doing probably in the next week or so? What's one thing that you would recommend they do?
I would go back to asking you to consider the possibilities of leveraging an advisory board, because you can have a great idea and you can get out there on faith, but you got to get some wisdom. And I think that the advisory boards are wonderful sources. Make sure that you're in an environment that is going to be fruitful for you and supportive of you. You'll never believe how many people want to see you do well. And that's the power of the deck. So as well. And so that's also, the Small Business Development Center that's here. You'll never believe how many people are out there that want to really see you succeed. So that's my advice to you.
Great. Well, hey, I appreciate you being with us today. This has been great. And, best of luck to you in the business as you go forward. We're excited about your new opportunities. And I know that we are excited about the where this is going to lead in terms of integrating a lot of the technologies that at the state that we have to deal with all the time. So thank you for being here, and thank you for participating.
Very welcome. I really appreciate the opportunity to share. And if anyone needs any assistance, don't hesitate to make my information available.
Yeah, absolutely. So our next small business breakthrough is July 25th. Still working on finalizing the guest, but keep an eye open at our website and at sbdccolumbus.com, and we'll be putting up information there. And I look forward to seeing everybody then. And until then, hope you guys have a wonderful and cool July getting there. And we look forward to seeing you soon and assisting you in any way we can. Thank you very much, and you guys have a great day.